Hey guys, this is Volcano Garozzo, and I'm going to be walking you through the new map I made, DE Nuke VE. My intention with this map was to reintroduce some familiar elements to Nuke which were removed in CSGO, while also implementing a few new changes which I do believe will make this a more balanced and dynamic map. Now as we walk outside here, the first major change to point out is the reintroduction of the outside hallway. I know what you're thinking, the hall is in a different spot than 1.6 in source, but I do feel like this is a good thing because it gives the Ts a lot more options to execute their strats on. Strats can now be based on this hallway, where I felt in the past it was more of an afterthought. The majority of the time, Ts would only make use of the back hall after they got a few picks outside, since it's so difficult to get there. First, they'd have to get through any CTs watching outside aggressively. Once they do that, they generally have to go into the warehouse and get out the other side while they're getting shot at from CT spawn, tower, or the window room. Due to all that, I feel the back hall could never be used to its full potential. Now, while this gives CTs an additional spot to defend, it also does give them an additional spot to play from. I feel like this opens up a lot of creative possibilities on the map. You might have noticed that the window room looks a bit different than the ESEA version of the map. To start with, I removed the bench on the floor which obstructed the player's movement. The windows here are also now much more transparent and easier to see through. Lastly, and probably most importantly, the windows are larger and you can finally jump through them again. Now when looking through the windows, you notice what's commonly referred to as the breakable boxes are missing. This was done to allow CTs to have more viewing angles to the new back hall, since it's easier for Ts to access it. Alright, so moving on down in the back hall here, you can see it looks very familiar to source, with one key distinction here is that the back hall does not connect to the barrel hall. This was done because I feel that that loop that you could do around the back hall is very imbalanced. I feel like this solution solves that problem while also giving a lot of flexibility for CTs and Ts to be creative in the lower bomb site. Other than that, things look very familiar here when you compare it to 1.6 in source. So you have the window room here, which leads you either to the outside hallway or into the bomb site. Now when comparing the lower bomb site in this map versus the ESEA version, I feel like it's a lot less cluttered and a lot more functional. So as you can see here, I removed several barrels from the site which I felt were unnecessary, and I also reintroduced the doors here so you could play in them as a CT or a T. However, as I said earlier, once you're in this hall, you can't go escaping through to the back hall anymore because that loop is now closed. Players are now going to have to put a lot more thought in their actions when they want to play in this doorway because they can't reposition as easily as they used to be able to. A couple of other things I fixed on this map compared to the CSGO versions: you can no longer peek over this biohazard tank and lower. This created a very imbalanced spot for the player hiding behind it because you could just crouch up and down and the enemy could barely even see you. So now let's take a look at the Squeaky door room. Once you're through the door, you'll notice that you can run through the vents, unlike the ESEA version where you're forced to crawl. As we make our way out the hut door, you'll see that things here look a little bit different than the ESEA version. What I was focusing on here was removing additional cover that the CTs do not need in upper. The forklift and the yellow barrels were the first thing to go. Another important change to notice is that the biohazard tanks were pushed a bit further back. What this does is it blocks the hut door from the tower. And this works both ways. It allows the CTs to rotate up the tower with some additional cover from the hut door, but it also reduces the amount of spots that Ts need to check when they're coming out into upper. You'll notice that there's a new box straight ahead when you look out the hut door. I placed it here so Ts have an additional location to hide in when they're blind as they're coming into upper. This will cover them from the tower but leave them exposed to the mini garage so they can't abuse this spot too much. You can see here that the hut window is now once again functional. Okay, so now let's go take a look at the radio room. I made the entrance in the radio room that feeds into the ramp hall a bit wider. This should make it possible for Ts to navigate this area more smoothly and also allow them to watch the ramp push from further back in the lobby. Additionally, CTs can now throw flashes into the radio room from further back in the ramp room. Alright, thanks for watching this video, and I'd also like to thank Valve for all of their support in making this map possible.